happy day. Happy Wednesday. I'm Denise Stegall. I am the host here of the Healthy Living, Happy Life podcast. And today I'd like to talk about something that I absolutely love. One of the things that we talked about early in the year, of course, is brand new year, new you, blah, blah, right? I hate that phrase, new year, new you. I really do, because I truly believe that even when you adopt better habits, new habits, you're still you to a core. So instead of new and improved, I like to say you and improved, because you're still who you are at your core, right? You haven't completely changed as a person. You've added potentially some new habits. Maybe you've learned something new, a new skill. You've spoken, you can speak another language. You've learned how to cook, whatever it might be. So again, you're still you, but you're always improving on that. And I think that's an important thing for us to always remember. We want to be continually learning and growing in life. And the beginning of a new year is always a great opportunity to look to see where we are, what we've done in the past, where we are today, and then figure out what it is we want this year. Because the things that we do this year, the new habits that we cultivate this year, are going to actually help us next year and the following year and the following year. Because healthy habits, whether it's eating, movement, spending time with friends and family, doing things that you love, all of those things build upon each other. So new and improved is out the window, and we're thinking you and improved. So how do you do that? I'll tell you. The way to do this, or to understand this concept a little better, is to think of this year. Okay, this is a new year, right? Whatever happened in the past is in the past. That's great. You don't know what's going to be in the future. So you have today. So this is what you're going to do today. So to thrive and grow. And for those of us in midlife who are kind of, when it comes to energy, we feel a little lethargic, maybe our confidence is slipping because maybe we're not sleeping and maybe we're gaining a little weight. Maybe there is lack of clarity when it comes to our personal and professional goals. Maybe we reached those goals last year, but now in early January, you're kind of scratching your head going, okay, now what? Right? So to make this you and improved a reality, there's one thing, even though there's a million things we can do, right? There's one thing that can absolutely help you to thrive in 2025. And that fundamental shift is in your mindset. Mindset is key for everything that you want to accomplish in your life. So mindset essentially is that lens that you view challenges and opportunities by. Often that mindset will start when you're young, by things people have said to you, whether it was a teacher or a parent. Religion is a big piece of mindset, right? And so it's through that lens, that mindset that you've kind of created through the years by listening to all this other feedback, is really how you're looking at the world. And a positive mindset isn't just, oh, I feel good, I'm a positive person, blah, 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 blah. No, it is a powerful, powerful tool to change your life's trajectory. Yes, we do want to have a positive attitude. We want to think positively. We want to be the person that walks in the room where everyone's like, just wants to see you and talk to you because you emit this amazing energy. So yes, that is positivity, but positive mindset goes a bit deeper than that. Now, on the flip side, let's think of negative energy. What does a negative energy do? It sucks. It sucks your energy. Negative energy sucks your energy. It sucks you down. It weighs you down and keeps you in a space where you feel overwhelmed, maybe doubtful, maybe fearful, maybe all of those negative things people have said to you, your limiting beliefs. That's what is kind of going around in your world when you have negative energy and a negative mindset. And it does more than affect your mood. It actually depletes your power, right? Your power to make good decisions. Think about this. When you're in a negative mindset and a negative feel, when you're kind of sucked down into this fear and overwhelm and sadness, I'll even say, do you make good decisions when it comes to your nutrition? Are you sitting on the couch as opposed to going for a walk outside? More than likely, that's what you're doing. So, yes, it affects your mood, but again, it affects your power, and it just keeps you tethered to this line, or this rope that's the kind of strangling you. Doubt, fear, frustration, aggravation, anxiety, depression. All of those things are in a negative mindset, right? And for so many professional women, especially those of us in midlife, and of course, midlife depends on, is it your mid 40s, mid 50s, mid 60s? Realistically, it's all of that's kind of your midlife, between 45 and 65. And that before that, you're in a different phase. After that, you're in a completely different phase too, right? But think about this: for most of us, that is a rough time. Yes, hormonally, but also, kids are out of the house, they're growing up, they're, moving away, they're going to college, whatever it is. And this just can feel like a horrible, like almost an insurmountable hurdle that you have to overcome, because now you have to figure out, okay, well, who am I? What do I want? Ooh, what do I want? What does that even mean? What do I want? And for many, many women, even successful women, people that are really successful in their career and have success in a relationship, they kind of get lost because they've spent so many years, in the role of mom and caregiver and taxi driver and chef, all of those things, right? And yeah, you had a career that was going well. And even though there are times during that phase in life where, kind of finding a harmony in all of that is really, really difficult. Well, now you don't have that struggle, right? Kids are now out of the house. It's just, either you or you and your partner, right? So that negative energy, that negative mindset can really start to affect us in this middle age stage, because we're in a new stage of life. And I always say every 10 years, we're a little bit different. Think about it. When you're 20 and you all of a sudden you turn 30, it's a very different phase. 30 to 40, 40 to 50, right? All very different. We feel different. We look different. Our energy is different. And so we have to make changes. We have to make adjustments there, right? So when I look at positive energy, I think of creativity and joy and shifting, making, finding creative solutions. And this is what one of the things we call the positive mindset, or the sage mindset. And think of the feelings. I think of feelings like love and curiosity and confidence. These are feelings that come with your sage, come with positive mindset, right? Again, positive mindset acts as that compass for better choices, better relationships, stronger resilience, right? Positive mindset gives you happy feelings, joy, love, curiosity, creativity. I said this before, I know, but also those happy feelings just continually to increase our endorphins. And the more that endorphins are out there, the more or the better we feel. And we just keeps going, and we just keep keeping we keep increasing our energy level, right? We want our energy level spinning like crazy. We don't want our energy level kind of low and low and low and kind of low vibration. Kind of think of that as Eeyore, right, from Winnie the Pooh. The positive mindset, the sage person, is your friend, the Tigger, our friend Tigger, right? So again, on the flip side, negative mindset, fear, stress, anxiety, overwhelm, anger, another one. Fear and anger, negative mindset somehow always ends up in one of those horrible feelings, those tough feelings. Now, that's not to say that at some point in life you're not going to feel that. But it's a matter of, yes, you feel this, you recognize it, and then you can say, okay, what am I going to do about this? I don't want to stay in this low vibration, this low energy, this negative mindset. So what am I going to do? Right. So essentially, when it comes to this negative mindset, positive mindset, even saying it, positive mindset, negative mindset, like even I feel my voice, the inflection of my voice changes when I say that. There are lots of words that when you say are really positive words, right? Even the one that I think I hear all the time, and we do this constantly in conversation. Well, yeah, I really think that's a great idea, but and just kind of the word just kind of falls. And then you have some kind of negative thought. There was a positive idea, but low vibration, and it just brings everything down and everyone around you down. So essentially, mindset to me comes from or stems from either love or fear. Which would you rather have guiding you? I think I know which one most of us would choose, right? So one of the things that I think is really, really important in when it comes to positive mindset is this leads to mental clarity. Now, it's not the same thing, right? Positive mindset, you have these positive feelings, you have this good energy, this high vibration. And once you have that, that leads to mental clarity, which basically is knowing what you want and aligning your actions accordingly. Now, very, very often when clients come to me, they have no idea what they want. They don't even know who they are anymore because they've spent so many years in other roles. And now they have the time to focus on themselves and they've kind of forgotten who they are. What do they want? Even when they have a positive mindset, their clarity, there isn't clarity in that next phase in life, in this midlife phase, by the way, can go on for a long time. People think, oh, menopause, it's just, it's a short, one little 1 year and then you're done. No, it's not. It's really long. So we want to make sure that we have the tools to cultivate a positive mindset, and that leads to that mental clarity. So, like I said, many women come to me and they're not really sure what they want. Do they want to stay in their marriage? Some do, some don't. Some have no idea. Do they want to start a business? Do they want to volunteer? What is that next thing that's going to bring them joy in their life? And I don't just mean, just today, but really what's going to be something that is sustainable. And so I want to make sure that after all these years of being in one role, that we reconnect to those aspirations that we had. Think about what you wanted to do and who you wanted to be before you got married and had kids. Now, I don't have kids, so I don't have that experience, but I certainly do know what I wanted to be before I wanted to get married and what I wanted to do before I got married. Now, most of those things I have done, but they were also things that I had to kind of put on the back burner because of my role as wife, right? It's not always all about me. A lot of times it has to do, it's about my husband and what he needs and what we need as a couple, right? So when I was younger, before I got married, I had these great aspirations. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to speak on stages. Oh, wait a minute. Isn't that what I'm doing now? That's exactly what I'm doing now. I didn't do that when I was in my 30s. I was doing something a little different. Even into my 40s, I started to dabble. But now I'm so clear on what it is that I want in my life and what I want to bring into my life and how I want to impact others. Very, very clear on what that looks like now. So when you don't have that clarity, when that clarity is missing, you're still making decisions, you're still living life day to day, but things kind of get muddy. There's a little bit of muddy water there. Why does that happen? Self-doubt, conflicting priorities. Ooh, what's that about? Are they your priorities? Are they somebody else's priorities? Are they boundaries that you have not set? Possibly. When you have the clarity every action and every yes and every no becomes intentional. Every step purposeful. Now, when I say every yes and every no, when you agree to do something, it's yes all the way. You're 100% in. But if there's a no, and think of how many times we do this. We don't really want to do something. We're not that interested, but we kind of feel guilty. And so we do it anyway. Case in point, there is a group that that I attended a couple of times. And they're great people. They really are. They're not exactly, I hate to say they're not my cup of tea, but they really aren't quite, we're not quite a great fit. No, I think they're great people. And I have to decide, do I want to join them on a regular basis? Or is this something that I might be saying because, I like the person, I feel guilty. I know now when something is an absolute yes, and I also understand when something is an absolute no. So this is what I mean about clarity. Yes, I could join this group and I can participate with them once a week, twice a month, whatever it might be. But that's time that is going to be spent doing things that I'm not really that interested in, as opposed to focusing on the things that I really want to do that light me up. And I think that's the piece that I want to show every woman in midlife. Things that you do should light you up, can light you up. I hate the word should, but the things that you do, you want them to light you up. Now, going grocery shopping is not going to light you up. Okay, I get that. It's something we need to do. But I mean, on a regular basis, whether it's your career, whether you're volunteering, whatever it is that kind of floats your boat. Maybe you start a new hobby, you speak and you want to learn to speak another language. I've been trying to learn how to speak Spanish forever. It hasn't been a priority, right? So I dabble here and there, but maybe next year that becomes a priority. It's not just yet, right? So they don't spend the time learning how to speak Spanish. But with the little that I know, I can get by when I go to Mexico or when I'm speaking to people that I know who speak Spanish. I can at least greet them in Spanish and have a couple of words. And then, of course, they know that that's kind of my limited Spanish, and then we change to English. Thank you very much, my friends who do that for me. I really appreciate you. So, truly, mental clarity gives you the confidence to know exactly where you're going and basically kind of gives you a roadmap to get there. When you need support with that roadmap, that's what I'm here for. Talk about that a little bit in a minute. So what I find is this key to reaching this goal is something that I started a few years ago. It was a book initially that I read called Positive Intelligence by Shirzad Chamine. And you'll hear me talk about this all the time because it really was a game changer for me. Opened my eyes to things that I never knew, I never understood. And when I read the book, and then when I went through the programs, the 6-week program that I actually can facilitate, it kind of changed my life in so many great ways. Even the simplest thing, when you have that person in your life who just kind of annoys the crap out of you, you love them dearly, but they just annoy you. And sometimes you can get, kind of negative and frustrated, and you kind of feel a little antsy when you're talking to them. I know now how to handle those feelings and address them even before I have a conversation with that particular person. So that's kind of a big deal. So this is why I find that positive intelligence, we also call this mental fitness, kind of like, working out your muscles, but you're working out your brain. These are tools to help you develop this positive mindset that I've been talking about. Essentially, it gives you the ability to respond to life's challenges, because we know there are plenty of them, with a positive rather than negative mindset. So when something happens, when there's a situation, right? And you're stuck in this negative mindset, negative energy, and something happens, you're kind of like, yeah, these things always happen to me. when you're in a more positive mindset, same thing can happen. And you kind of scratch your head and go, this just happened. What can I learn from this? What's an opportunity that I can gain from this? Same thing happened. One person, kind of complaining that, well, these things always happen to me, and leaves it there. Well, guess what? The next time something happens, they're going to say the same thing. This always happens to me. Negative energy attracts negative energy. Positive energy attracts positive energy, right? Think of that person who every time you talk to, something's wrong. Something has gone wrong in their life. And they've been that way as long as you've known them, especially if it's somebody you've known from high school. Not that I have anybody in my mind, but I have somebody in my mind, right? There's always something. There's never a moment in the conversation that's positive or happy or hopeful. And to me, that's sad, right? So the mental fitness piece helps you to recognize that when you're stuck in that, and you kind of flip the conversation, flip that dialogue to, okay, these things happened. This is what I've got going on in my life. This is how I'm going to change things. It gives you the ability to, or opens your mind to the ability to creative solutions. I love creative solutions. So the central concept, we've been talking about this basically, and I talk about this all the time. You'll hear me say these two words pretty much every time I talk. And I've talked about this a little bit today, at least one of these. The two forces that are at work here, negative mindset is your saboteur. Think of that as, kind of the little devil guy who's in your ear, or that voice that's in your ear telling you you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not pretty enough, whatever that voice is telling you, right? It's a voice of fear. It's a voice of negativity. And it drives frustration, anger, sadness, anxiety, depression. Kind of get the point. Negative feelings, right? And it's our feelings that really change our actions, right? If we feel good about something, we want to do something about it. If we feel negatively about something, we may not do something, or we may do the wrong thing, right? The other force that is at work here is the sage. And I've talked about that a little bit. The sage is the voice of love, of empathy, of possibilities, right? It is empowering when it comes to growth and learning. And I said earlier, at this stage in life, we know that if we continue to learn and grow and expand, that's how we find that fulfilling life that people are looking for, right? If we're not growing or learning anything and just kind of going through the motions and doing the same thing in the same place with the same people over and over again, we're kind of stuck in that. We get stuck in that negativity. There's no growth. Once we realize one thing and we learn something new, or we find a way to grow away from that situation, life changes. Positive mindset is coming very quickly. So the one thing that I mentioned a second ago is with the sage, we call it the sage perspective. This actually is the thing that helps you to create those opportunities and those creative solutions by reframing. Is this an opportunity? What's the opportunity here? What can I learn from this? Or what's the opportunity I can take? And very often when we're in a situation, we can't see what that is, right? So one of the things that's kind of on my mind is my dad's 20-year anniversary of his passing is coming up next week. And my dad had stage 4 colon cancer. It was horrible. And so that was the situation that happened, right? Now, positive thing or a learning experience that came from that was that my aunt, who has always been a smoker, she decided, because of my dad's situation, that she should probably go and get checked. And she had precancer cells. Polyps, they call them. Well, now, had she not been exposed and experienced, my dad with his cancer, she may never have done that. And you know what? We would have been down the same road with her, right? So learning experience, bad situation. I mean, I've been without my dad for 20 years, right? But I still have my aunt, which is a good thing. I didn't lose both of them. I mean, eventually you lose everybody, right? Because they get older and that's what happens. But that was a great learning experience. That was a great opportunity for her to one learn, maybe this is something that I need to check out. So sorry to get a little negative there, guys. I'm usually much more positive. But here's even a thought. When I was talking about that, did you hear how my voice kind of got lower and slower and my energy kind of dropped a bit? Right. Not that I was in a negative mindset, but there was negative energy there. It was a sad situation. And so my voice inflected it, my energy inflected that. So important to understand, to recognize when you're in a positive mindset and a negative mindset. And it's not something you just kind of flip from back and forth. Now you can have bad days where, you feel more lethargic and a little bit more negative, but cultivating a positive mindset is going to really push that negativity aside. And when it does creep in, you'll notice it and reframe that conversation. So a story I like to tell is about a friend of mine. My friend Diane is a marketing executive. She's been with a huge firm in Philadelphia for years. And she's got a successful career. She's, she kind of was one of those people that, started with one company and has just climbed the ladder and climbed the ladder and climbed the ladder. Of course, with that came more money, but also more responsibility. And a couple of years ago, in her mid 50s, she kind of said that she thought she was going through a midlife crisis. She wanted to quit her job. She wanted to move. She was going to go find an island and do yoga on an island somewhere for the rest of her life, which I give her a lot of credit. We did end up with, yoga for the rest of her life, just not on an island, and she didn't quit her job. But what happened was here she was incredibly successful, right? Things she wanted because she went to college, she got her master's, she did all of the things, right, that she was supposed to do, that she wanted to do, and got the career and the house and the car and all of those things, the great trips, all of those things. So from the outside, she was feeling it, right? She was really successful, but she was unhappy and got to the point where she thought, what am I going to do? So what we talked about, again, we talked about positive intelligence and really how to quiet that saboteur, because that was the person that was saying to her, yeah, is this it? You've done all this and this is all that you got, right? She realized that wasn't helping her, that was bringing her down, that she didn't really want to quit her job. She actually liked her job, but it was getting to be all encompassing, right? She was working still, a lot of hours. There were times when she was at a client's beck and call. That was a boundary issue, right? So as we went through the positive intelligence program, she understood more how to turn that negativity and that saboteur voice and reframe the conversation to a more sage, positive mindset. And interestingly, she rediscovered something that she hadn't thought about in quite a few years. Now, when she was going through the ranks, she had some great mentors. And she claims, she would not have gotten where she is had it not been for them. And so she always vowed that she was going to mentor young professionals going through. And when she realized that, and she really stepped back to understand, who she was, what are my core values? What am I missing in my life? Not in her career, but in her life. What were those dreams that she kind of let go by the wayside? So with this clarity, mental clarity, as we talked a minute ago, she decided to she decided to start a mentoring program at her company. And what she believed initially was this midlife crisis. She turned into an amazing program within her company and reinvented part of herself and helped the company too. And then, of course, all of the people that she has mentored since then. So, why do I talk about this? What do I do? This is great. Thanks for the information, Denise. Now what? My role here is impact. My goal is to impact you into action. Right? I want to help you to rediscover your passion, create sustainable, healthy habits. The two things that I work so much on with my clients, mindset and nutrition, and all of the things that come after that, right? Connection, movement, all of those pieces, because, life is more than work and life. It's, there's no, if there was just two things, it would be easy to balance, right? But life isn't like that. There's work, and even work has multiple aspects to it. There's the people that you work with, there's the people that you work for, the people that work under you, right? There are your purveyors, your clients. There's a lot going on there. And then in life, you have yourself, you have your family, mom, dad, you have your children potentially, right? Your spouse or partner, you have your community, then you have movement, exercise, because you want to do that, right? And you want to be creative and you want to go out and play pickleball. So there's all these things, right? So whatever, how do you balance all of those? You don't. You don't look for balance, but you do look for harmony. And that's something that I help midlife women with, clarify some goals, overcome self-sabotage by focusing on positive intelligence and mental fitness, and truly replace perfectionism. This is something that as women, we get so stuck in. Everything has to be perfect. The holidays have to be perfect. We just did that, right? We just went through a whole holiday season where the dinner has to be perfect and the decorations have to be perfect and the wrapping on the gifts has to be perfect. Why? The kids are just going to rip open the packages anyway, and the pretty packages or the pretty wrapping is going to end up in the trash, right? Gee. Not that this happens in my life, but this happens in all of our lives, right? So replacing perfectionism and doubt and self-doubt, which is a big deal, right? And all of those negative feelings, we get rid of them, we replace them. Sometimes they still kind of creep in, we're not perfect, right? That's the whole point. We replace them with joy, with confidence, and with purpose. Living a fulfilling life. People always go, what's the purpose? What's the purpose of life? I read something recently in a book, and I don't have the name of the book here. I'll put it in the show notes. And it was something like a brief, the meaning of life, a brief history, or something similar to that. And the concept really was, maybe there isn't one meaning of life. Maybe life has meaning because of all the things that we're doing, all of the pieces, right? And so that's what I really want for women. That is my role as your podcast host, as the longevity concierge with Forever Healthy Living with Denise. So I forget what I'm talking about sometimes. My business or my program, which basically go hand in hand. So that is what I do. My program, I call it the Forever Wellness Lifestyle, and it's self-paced, but it's also a group program, but it's also something that you can touch base with me too and have those one-on-ones. What do we do? Again, we clarify goals, overcome the self-sabotage, find that confidence and purpose. So why is this important? And why is this important? This is the third week of January. Why is this important? Well, the beginning of the year, we're all looking ahead, right? And if you listen to last week's podcast, I talked about having a theme, my theme being impact. And I do believe we can have a theme for the year. I've also said that for some people, a year is too long. Maybe we split it up into quarters, right? We split a year up into quarters. So maybe each quarter you have a different theme, right? So you want to move forward. You want to continue to grow, right? Depending on no matter where you are in life, what phase of life, how old you are, how young you are, you want to look back on the year at this time next year, you want to look back at 2025 and say, man, that was a great year. Look at all that I've achieved. I've got this great energy and this great health now. I feel like my body is working with me, not against me. I have these great connections with people that I've really cultivated these relationships with friends, whether it's, friends, people you've known for a long time. Maybe you've met some new people that you've brought into your life. Man, that feels great, right? And again, it starts with mindset, prioritizing, and mental clarity. What's the alternative? This time next year, you're going to continue to feel stuck and uncertain and exhausted, and you're going to be low energy, and your body's fighting you. That cycle of negativity and nothing. And then what happens is, one of the things we see so often in women, but in men as well, as we get older, we get sad and we get grumpy because we don't have the things in our life. We didn't work to create the things we actually wanted. We just went through the motions. I don't want you to go through the motions. So the choice is yours, right? You can let your saboteur dictate another year, doubt, frustration, unhappiness, negative feelings, or embrace your sage. Unlock the power of love, positive mindset. And this is what's going to help you to thrive. Yes, this year in 2025 and in 2026 and in 2036. So again, end of next year, who do you want to be? What do you want to create? What do you want to look back and say, I created this, I did this? What do you want to feel, or how do you want to feel? Right? All of those things are decisions that you can make. And all of this starts with changing your mindset and cultivating positive mindset. So, what am I saying to you right now? What am I going to leave you with? What am I going to leave you with today? Choose your sage, everyone. Your sage is never going to take you down a wrong path. Now, there may be some detours, and that's okay. Because you know what happens with detours? Get you back on that road. It may take you someplace that you've never seen before, and that's great. Right? So I have my calendar open this next couple of weeks. Jump on my calendar. Just, let's chat for half an hour. See, if this is something that you're interested, something that I can help you with, right? 2025 is so full of possibilities. Don't wait to step it up and enjoy the life that you've always wanted to create and cultivate. Positive mindset is the way to go. All right, everyone. It's been great. Thank you for listening. And for those of you who are watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. If you like this, please forward this to a friend who needs to hear this. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe and ring the bell. Ding! And you'll get a message every time I create a new video, which I do more often than not these days. So anyway, I leave you with this, everyone. Healthy living, happy life. Till next time. Bye.